Brian, welcome to the show. How are you, man?
I'm good. I came in and you were saying, talking about reach. I
Yeah,
couldn't agree more. It really helps when people can actually find you.
well, but the funny thing is about a guy like you, I think right now you guys are that new hip cat on the block, right? Like you guys are something I think Scripps, obviously I've worked in broadcasting for 30 years. I know what Scripps is, right? EW
Yep.
Scripps, like it's a big brand. What are you guys about right now? Why is Scripps Sports a thing?
Yeah, look, I think it's a unique moment in time. To your point, we're a 144-year-old media company, so we've been around a long time. We, really are known as one of the highest quality journalism companies in America. But we're all about serving local communities. And, I think as we look at where people are at now relative to um, the way they engage with media and television. A lot of our business is owning 61 local TV stations. We own some national networks, and hands down the most powerful content on television today is live sports. So 95 of the top 100 shows on television last year were live sports. And so I think as we look at where people are spending their time and where advertisers are putting their money, it's all around live sports. And we have a great footprint nationally and locally. And that footprint is not tucked behind a paywall. It's not cable and satellite only. I mean, we are, it goes back to when we grew up, right? I grew up in New York, and the Mets, the Yankees were free over the air broadcast, and and everyone could see it. And to the point you were making just when I dialed in talking about reach, like that is the biggest problem right now facing teams. And when they did their last distribution deals, in many cases those were 8, 10, 12 years ago, they signed a contract with a regional sports network, and those regional sports networks are reaching 80% of the markets because cable and satellite was in its heyday. Well, now look at all the cord cutting and the cord nevers that have developed in, the last decade or so. And so instead of reaching 80% of your customers, there are teams that we're talking to that their product is visible to 30 or 40% of their market. And so imagine owning a Major League Baseball team or an NBA team, and only 30% of all the households in your viewing area can see your product. You got a giant business problem there. And I think that's the beauty of, what local broadcasters can step back in now. We've got to have real honest conversations with these teams about the economics, because, the other side, that what's been built for the last decade has been built on, okay, I'm a team, I sell my rights to a regional sports net, and basically they just turn around and sell those rights right to cable and satellite. They get a cut in the middle, and that money goes back and forth. Well, we don't have that same opportunity in many cases. We're already getting paid by them, but we're not going to get that giant bump that the sports networks did. And so there is a, kind of an economic reset that needs to happen with the teams. But the conversations with them are, hey, you can get a nice paycheck and cash it, and that feels good. But when you're only
Yeah.
reaching 30% of your audience, what's that doing to tickets, suite sales, merchandise, sports betting? Like all of those are ways that teams make money. And so maybe it's all right, I reset. I get now, instead of reaching 30% of the households in the market, I go back to broadcast. I can reach 100% of all the households in the market. Suddenly people are flipping channels, and there's my product where they normally couldn't see it. And now, hey, a 12-year-old, the Rockies, right? Or pick a team, but the Rockies come out of spring training. They got some new rookie. The rookie hits 8 home runs in the first 12 games. All the 12-year-old boys are talking about it in school, right? Kid
Yeah.
comes home, well, he can't see the game. Imagine if he can come home, he's flipping channels. There's the game. It's they're in the 6th inning of a 2-2 game. And, now they watch this rookie come up. He hits another home run. Now this 12-year-old's buzzing about it. He's back talking about the kids in school. What is he doing? 2 weeks later, he's going, hey, Dad, this weekend, can we go to a Rockies game?
Yeah.
Right. And then, and suddenly they go out. Now they're buying tickets. They buy a couple of Rockies T-shirts, and now he's watching more games. Like, you're completely missing that opportunity now with the way the business model is. And so I think it's just a time for a reset, and we're sort of going back to, the basics, but, we still got these giant over the air broadcast signals. We're distributed on cable, on satellite, on over the air. on OTT channels and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's a really good opportunity and a moment in time for a reset with many of the professional sports teams.
Brian Lawlor, president of Scripps Sports, joins us on the Monty Show. Brian, let me ask you directly. There were a lot of rumors that came out a couple of weeks ago, or I guess last week, that Ion Scripps Sports was talking to the Pac-12 about doing a deal. Do you care to comment on that?
We're not going to have a deal. We're not going to be in the primary distribution of the Pac-12. So I think that story got a little ahead of itself.
A little?
Yeah. A lot ahead of itself. So.
Right. But I think what's interesting about that is when you look at, like I immediately lit up when I saw the MSG streaming deal, because I'm a big believer in streaming. You talk about growing up in New York. I grew up in Chicago watching the Cubs on WGN. I was that kid that when Andre Dawson became a Chicago Cub, I lost my mind, man. I had a wiffle ball bat in my hands trying to emulate his swing. Like, that brings me back to my childhood. I look at now kids and cell phones, and I look at this deal that MSG did where they're going to stream the Rangers and the Knicks and for some reason the Islanders, because there are no Islander fans, but that's not the point. The point
I'm
is
a huge Islander fan.
But I thought that was a game-changing deal.
Yep. No, I think that's one of the interesting things now is in this moment of time, we also, and I'm just talking about Scripps, like, I don't think it has to be either or. I think really what teams should be thinking about is both. And we're having that conversation with them. It doesn't have to be, like cable and satellite, all they wanted to do was protect. You can't, the only place you can get it, we're going to pay you a lot of money, but the only place you can get it is cable or satellite. And so now they're missing 70% of the audience. You look at the Major League Soccer's deal with Apple. Well, that's a lucrative deal, but it's tucked behind a paywall, and you're going to miss anybody who is not a dead loyal fan who's willing to pay, $89 or $99 a season. Yeah. They're never going to be in front of them. I actually think the answer is both. We should be talking, and we are talking with folks and saying, all right, look, let's look at the reach. To your point earlier, right? It's all about, let's get your product out in front of everyone. And then let's also talk about, let's create a direct-to-consumer product together that we're going to broadcast the games, and all of them or most of them will be available over the air. Let's create some unique content, maybe some secondary audio streams, think of like the Manning cast. There's places now in states where sports betting's legal, where they have a secondary audio stream or even video stream that's putting a lot of data and stats around sports betting. You can create such unique, personalized engagement that somebody will pay, $12 a month for that, in addition to, being able to watch it over the air. So I think it doesn't need to be either or. I think there's an opportunity to really engage fans where you get put the product out there, let everyone see it, build a big audience, and then own the fan, own the data on the fan and that customer experience. And in that direct to consumer, you create all those secondary streams, but there you can do merchandising, there you can, do ticket sales or sports betting. And there's all these new revenue streams. And when you are controlling all the data and the customer experience down there, I think there's all new revenue streams that ultimately the teams get whole, but suddenly their reach and visibility is so much greater.
But why do you guys, this is a crazy question, I admit it. Why now? Why the appetite now to get involved? Like, it's terrifying to me. Obviously we talk to a lot of Utah Jazz fans. We talk to a lot of baseball fans, and we hear about what's going on with Bally's. And I think, AT&T Sportsnet is in this crazy position because they're still trying to keep rights of NBA teams, but they're cutting the Utah Jazz. On March 31st, the Jazz potentially won't be on AT&T Sportsnet, even though they're their solutions. But it seems like such a tough economy and such a tough marketplace to break into being partners with professional teams on their media rights. Why now is it a good time for you guys to get involved in this?
So two things. Number one, the moment in time, the acceleration of cord cutting, and the fact that cable and satellite subscriptions are down below 50% in almost every market. And so it has just been building to this. For us, we've been watching it happen and sort of guiding where teams and leagues contracts are expiring, and that moment is starting, now and will over the next couple of years. So we sort of picked our moment, having talked to teams, leagues, and others over the last year or two. We saw this building and it just kept accelerating. So, I think, It was just a moment in time. And then, the other question that you're asking is fair, is the economics and how do you afford it? And I think it's just, again, the moment in time allows for a reset. We don't have any desire to walk in and be the white knight that just pays the teams the same money they were paid in the past, and then just get that all we get to do is distribute and that's it. Like, we want to come in, let's build businesses, let's create a unique partnership that's almost like joining two media companies. Because let's face it, these teams, they have content, they have revenue, they have celebrities. They're a content company, right? And They have massive revenue. We're a content company, and with significant revenue. We have customers, we have advertisers, they have customers, they have advertisers. We're both creating content. Theirs is sports, ours is sports, news, entertainment. But let's bring it all together. Let's reset what a relationship looks like. Let's create a direct-to-consumer product together, not competing against each other. But let's own the customer at the top and reach together. Let's own and build a business at the bottom together. And so the economics don't have to be what they were, because they really don't work for traditional media companies in the old model. But in the new model, rethinking it, I think everyone makes more money.
Is it simply, as we visit with Brian Lawlor, the president at Scripps Sports here on the Monty Show, is it strictly something that is, hey, the game itself? Do you envision you guys getting into, the behind the scenes stuff, the mic'd up stuff, the Drive to Survive, the Full Swing? Like, I just found Full Swing on Netflix and I can't let it go. Like, I am all into that show. Do you guys ever see yourselves as an entertainment company? Do you guys see yourselves doing that unique one-off content?
I think definitely. Look, I think the mic'd up, the stuff in the huddles, the stuff, pregame in the locker rooms. Fans want to see that stuff. They want more transparency and visibility. And, I got a 20-year-old son, I got an 18-year-old daughter. They're both sports nuts. They consume so much sports content, but it's not traditional. And the stuff that they're seeing from what's happening in the locker rooms and what the players are doing, like, that stuff's amazing. We got to get that to a bigger profile, because it's going to engage older audiences and younger audiences. So I think we need to do that. And then I think at the end of the day, we'll definitely get into some of that shoulder programming and documentaries and other content. It's really, really engaging. For us, it's just, I want to find out first what sports we're going to, get deals done with, so then I can understand what I should be, looking to kind of wrap around it.
What are you so you're a New Yorker. What are you a fan of? Because are you a Ranger fan?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, okay, good.
I'm an Islander
I hope you're
fan.
Not an Islander fan after what I said about the Islanders. But
yep.
What are you a fan of?
Look, a big football fan, college pro. I'm a big hockey fan. I am an Islander fan. I live in Cincinnati, which is where the company's based, but I subscribe to the NFL package, the NHL package, and watch a lot of Islanders. You got to understand, the 4 years that I was in high school were the 4 years the Islanders won the cup. So there's
that's awesome.
I mean, it was an unbelievable time. But I think more than anything, working in this company for a long time, I ran all of our television station business for a long time. What I love is stories, and I love passion. The college basketball tournament starting now. I was out this weekend in Boise at the Big Sky Conference tournament and watching, even the 7 and 8 seed females sitting at the court and watching that. I just, I love watching people compete. I love sports. As part of our Big Sky contract, the weekend before Thanksgiving, I was out at the Montana State football game. Man, you want to talk about an unbelievable rivalry. You want to talk about community. In the 5 biggest markets in Montana, the television ratings for the Montana State football game were as big as and even bigger than the Super Bowl. I mean,
wow. That's awesome. By the way, you probably didn't even recognize Boise. How about that town? Man, like, that is a different, you want to talk about, this is the interesting thing, not to belabor the point or talk your ear off, but you talk about Montana, you talk about Idaho, you talk about, Gonzaga basketball is in a really interesting place, and that geography has completely exploded. Boise is a completely different place than it's ever been. It
is, and it's a great town, and it's a great sports town. Perfect host, by the way, for the Big Sky. And by the way, you guys are, in Utah on Saturday. I had the opportunity to go to one of the largest esports, collegiate esports competitions.
Oh,
So
wow.
they have 4 regional, esport competitions that feed to a national championship, and the Utes were there. And so I got to watch the Utes compete. But, here's the University of Arizona, you're looking at UCLA. It was unbelievable. It blew my mind that, these are kids that it's not how I grew up thinking about an athlete. These kids are on full scholarships. They train like crazy. They're on eating regimens and watching literally, 30 teams with all their athletes, competing in this way. It was an unbelievable event. And so you asked me what excites me, like just seeing this competition. I don't understand Overwatch. I don't even know what the heck they were doing on the screen, but the competition, the passion, the chanting, it felt like, a college football game in a totally different environment. And so I think sports has a unique way of connecting people, creating passion, energy, bringing communities together, creating celebrations. And that's what I love. And this is a really neat moment in time for us to bring that back so that it's not tucked behind a paywall, but the entire community can celebrate when the Utes gymnastics team, right, is in, the NCAAs. Everyone should be able to watch that. You shouldn't have to have a paid subscription and, only 30% of people could see that. Those are incredible student athletes. They should be celebrated and people need to see them.
Wow, that's awesome. Brian, really good to see you, man. I appreciate your time. Best of luck. Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, let's do that. Good seeing you. Thanks.
There you go. Brian Lawlor, president at Scripps Sports. Really good dude. Like, I told you guys he was going to be a great conversation. He is a guy that I'm telling you, they are in a very unique place because they view sports very differently than your Amazon Primes or your, the all or nothings. How interesting is it to hear him say it doesn't have to be one or the other, but a mix of both? Like it just tells you that there doesn't have to be this hard, fast attitude or this staunch, we have to do it this way. I think that's where leagues like the Pac-12 get in trouble with the Pac-12 networks.
Yeah, well, I think that the real meat of that concept is the turning of the tide towards streaming. I mean, you heard what he said. I mean, you heard that cable cutting is, has the cable industry subscriptions down under 50%. And I think that's a great point by him. And I think, when you look at, conceptually, like how people are really consuming content, like it's clearly heading in the direction of streaming, but I don't think that means that, a Scripps Sports or, whatever company you want to look at can't still have a really pretty sizable portion of the pie. And I think that, the Pac-12 is not in the position it's in because there's a lack of options. The Pac-12 is in the position it's in because they didn't act quick enough and they weren't prepared.
Yeah,
and I think they're paying that price. And I think, I look at a company like Scripps and I say, they're in an enviable position, honestly, because they're looking at the market and they're saying, okay, there's a lot of desirable product out there that we would love to be, the home of, the distribution home of. We just got to go out and find one. And it sounds to me, based on what he was saying, that they're kind of in that process. I mean, you heard what he said. You had asked him about, hey, that behind the scenes stuff, the mic'd up stuff, the in the huddle stuff. What was his answer? Well, we got to figure out who we're gonna partner with and who we're gonna distribute, and then based off who we're gonna distribute, then we'll go and make that content. So I love hearing that it's on their mind. There's just a process that has to play out.
Yeah, I think it's imperative, and what's exciting to me about guys like Brian is they're not stuck in one way of thinking. And I don't mean to be redundant, but when you have a guy that can see all sides of things, that's what the Pac-12 needs. You need to survive. The Pac-12 is going to have to get way out of its comfort zone. To survive, the Pac-12 is going to have to do some unpopular things, both internally unpopular and externally unpopular with its fans. Yeah. You're going to have to do things that are uncomfortable for you if you want to survive. I think that is critically important. I cannot stress enough to you guys that you have to think outside the box, because if you don't think outside the box, I'm telling you, you're going to make the same mistakes you've always made. You're going to do the same things you've always done, and that's going to get you the same place you've always been. And it's to hear Brian Lawlor from Scripps Sports say, hey, we're not doing it the same way they've always done it, where you pay some huge sum up front and distribution fees. And I love that because it's outside the box. It's how we grow.
Yeah.
That's what's exciting to me. The Monty Show presented by Barbecue Pit Stop, bbqpitstop.com. If you're in Utah, make sure you stop by any of their 5 locations in Logan, Layton, Lehigh, St. George, and of course our friends in Murray on State Street across from the mall. Anytime you hear the words Barbecue Pit Stop, bbqpitstop.com. Think about the best equipment in the barbecue business. All the rubs, the spices, the sauces, the Traeger, the Big Green Egg, the Yoder Smoker, all of the best equipment, all of the best ingredients, and also the best people. That's what we love about Barbecue Pit Stop. Those guys just know everything. There's not a question they haven't been asked. So, my wife made me these incredible pork chops yesterday. Now, I'm old, so I had to get a shingles vaccine, so I didn't feel great yesterday, right? She made me these Parmesan crusted pork chops, and you know what she asked me, Jake? You'd have been proud. Hey, do I need to let these rest?
Damn.
It was unbelievable. I'm telling you, I found my queen. Hey, do I need to let these rest? Boom. They were so good. But where did we learn about resting? We learned about resting at Barbecue Pit Stop. Hey, how long do I need to let my brisket rest? And you know the best part? You can get on their website, bbqpitstop.com, and you can chat with them right on their website. Hey, how long do I need to let this pork chop rest? Hey, is asado seasoning from Flavor Knuckles? Monty says it's the best seasoning in the world. Is that really true? You can buy it online. Shop online, bbqpitstop.com, or get to any of their 5 Utah locations, Logan, Layton, Lehigh, St. George, and our good friends in Murray. Let's get your comments in here. What'd you guys think of Brian Lawlor? Gary says, I'm all in on streaming, still 5 years away from being dominant. Okay. I'm with you on that. T. Lawrence Gragston says, East Coast guy working out of the Midwest could save West Coast PAC. Yeah, but he was pretty unequivocal. They're not involved in the Pac-12.
Yeah, that was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, there was not a lot of room for, didn't need to interpret that much. T. Lawrence also says, right, Jim, just go Ion and stream. Brian sounds like a Big 12 commish. Brian Lawlor, Cincinnati. Hey. Yeah, he's in Cincinnati. How about that? I love it. Jim Choi says PAC might be better off with Scripps. Well, the question is who,
I mean, he pretty well shot that down.
I think so.
Yeah.
DWE. I'm a KC Royals fan. Bally's has been a disaster. Well, the hard part is that they got in so deep financially. I just don't know that there was a way for them ever to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And when you come in and you take on the debt they did and the rights fees, and I mean, it's almost impossible to ever be profitable on that. And if you guys don't know, Bally's broadcasts, like in Arizona, they're the Suns in the D-backs, or like across the country, they have a massive reach with sports teams. But now they're bankrupt and they're going through bankruptcy, or about to anyways, and there's a chance that they're out of business. So the NBA and Major League Baseball are trying to find alternatives for this season, like tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out, hey, when Bally's goes out of business, what are we going to do? It's a really frustrating and sad thing for sports fans.
Yeah.
Tanner said, hey, have you guys decided what time your birthday bash will be? Yeah, it's 6:00.
I think we have to lay those details out for people.
I think we do, because clearly we have not done a good enough job doing that. Travis Clement Smith says, is the Yormark angle for decoupling basketball the ability to sell overseas markets? Gonzaga has been big on foreign players for a while. He has hinted that basketball is more international. I think what he is saying there is that you have an opportunity to make more money globally.
Yeah.
Domestically, internationally, all across the globe. And you have to take advantage of that. And I think the other thing that's very clear is Fox is all in. Fox Sports is all in on college basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the Big 12 deal, I think, 63% or something like that is owned by Fox Sports, college basketball in the Big 12. You look at the fact that, sources have told us that Fox Sports is willing to pay more money to bring Gonzaga into the Big 12. I think that's the single biggest factor in why Gonzaga will wind up in the Big 12. I think because Fox wants them in the Big 12.
Gonzaga.
And I think if Fox wants you in the Big 12 and they're willing to kick down more money for that, I think you're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fox sees very little value in Pac-12 basketball right now, which is why they're out on the Pac-12 altogether, reportedly.
Because it's garbage.
I just think it makes all the sense in the world to split basketball and football because you can do different distribution deals that will make you more money.
Yeah.
That's the biggest deal. And I also think the non-conference matchmaking is a big deal. I think it is a very big deal that you have to be able to monetize your sports and your membership just as much as you can.
Yeah.
Boy, this is a little bit of breaking news. Sham Sharania from The Athletic and Stadium says details on a recent players-only meeting where veterans pushed for better discipline on the road for the Memphis Grizzlies related to John Morant. This story is not getting better. And we're going to do this in 18 minutes. We're going to shift to NBA. But this John Morant story is terrifying.
Yeah, it's deep.
And he's looking at a 50-game suspension by the NBA. We'll talk about that coming up here in about 18 minutes after Football at 50, presented by our good friends at Papa Murphy's Pizza. I love the idea of splitting basketball and football. Love, love, love that. DWE says, I've heard that Yormark has positioned the idea of the Big 12 playing exhibition games in Europe, especially for basketball.
Yeah.
Especially there, although I will say there has been a lot of people have talked about an all-star team of college baseball players traveling internationally to play some games, which I think is interesting because college baseball is a bit bigger of a venture than people think. And I think all of this stuff makes money.
Yeah.
All of this stuff makes money. It's content. And what did Brian Lawlor from Scripps tell us? What I always say, what are the Utah Jazz? Well, they're a basketball team. No, friends. They're a content creation company that happens to create content on basketball.
Right. Yeah.
That's what they are.
Yeah.
And we talk about this all the time. We consult certain people. And the first thing I always say is everything that you do, hey, I'm going to the bathroom. Okay, well, how are we going to get that on tape? How are we going to record that? How are we going to put that on video?
Yeah.
Like everything you do has to be with the thought of, okay, well, how can I put that on video?
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are successful live in that mindset. The people who are not do not live in that mindset.
Yeah.
And it costs them money all the time. And it's one of those things that's really difficult to execute unless you have everybody on board. Why is the Big 12 thriving right now? Or I think on the verge of thriving.
Right.
If they're able to get Gonzaga, I think that's a huge step forward.
Facts.
And then if the Pac-12 can't keep themselves together and let's say the Four Corners School, whatever that might be, if that all happens, why are they able to do that? Because they are unified behind Brett Yormark, and Brett Yormark has their position to go out and exercise his best judgment for what's best in the conference.
You're all pulling in the same direction.
I'm just telling. That's why when people asked us over the weekend, hey, how does this work on Gonzaga basketball? It's pretty straightforward. Brett Yormark is having conversations, and people related to him are using their relationships and back channels to pave the roadway. It's what we talked about with Tom Homo on Friday.
Yeah.
We were told point blank that Tom Homo has worked with Utah to try and create a pathway to get Utah into the Big 12. If the Pac-12 collapses, BYU is going to be one of the reasons that Utah winds up in the Big 12.
Yep.
And you know what? I that's exactly how you should be doing business, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that this stuff behind the scenes is what we all want, and I think we can't get it right now, but I think you need to understand that it's happening.
Yeah. SA says, the interview reminded me of when Las Vegas marked itself as a family destination. It didn't work. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, what does that mean,
What does that mean? Yeah. Gage Carter says, I hope the Jazz win on Saturday because I'll be there. That's right. They're in Charlotte.
Thanks for the $4.99.
Yeah, thank you for the $4.99 tip, Gage. Hope you're selling cars like hotcakes. Big Jack 512 says tournaments, hoops, and baseball. Okay, that's cool. Jeremy Callahan says if that all happens, the next target might be Big East schools like Creighton and Villanova. Jeremy Callahan also says Creighton might be a doable flip. Yeah, but what are you going to get paid for? What are you going to get paid for that? You know, like that's what I think is interesting.
Yeah.
I think we try so hard to fit people in 9 times out of 10, you go with the comfortable fit, especially in these expansion talks.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I'll just go to West Virginia in the Big 12. West Virginia has no business in the Big 12. Nebraska has no business in the Big 10. But why are they there? It's all money, dude. Nebraska is in the Big 10 for the money.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. And rightly or wrongly, that's why they're in the conference. I don't even know that it's.
But I think every conference has those bottom dwellers that are just there for a paycheck. Like it's the nature of the beast. And I think, as we continue to work towards a 2-conference setup, you're gonna that situation is just gonna get amplified. I mean, that's just gonna continue to grow.
Yeah, and I don't know why it wouldn't. I think when you look at, I think relationships make the world go round, man.
Facts.
I know that is
it's
a
cheesy,
cliche,
man. It's cliche,
I know it's cheesy as hell, but I feel very strongly that relationships make the world go round.
Yeah.
And George Kliavkoff does not have them.
Facts.
And that's the thing that's scary, is he doesn't, in my opinion, he does not have relationships with his presidents. He does not have relationships around his presidents. He does not have relationships geographically across the country to help him leverage and grow. I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
I think it is absolutely a huge problem.
And especially as a commissioner of a conference. I mean, you're the point man. You're supposed to be the guy that's like shepherding the business, and that's why it's so interesting. Like, you start comparing commissioners, and like, especially when you compare Larry Scott to what George Kliavkoff has done and how closely, like, or how, the parallels between those two and their struggles. Like,
yes.
It's just amazing. You start digging into the Pac-12, you start to understand that educational people trying to do sports is a recipe for a disaster. And that's, to me, that's the funny thing. Isn't the essence of having a commissioner so that you don't have to do commissioner type things?
A
like,
commissioner
isn't that the point?
You trust.
Yeah.
A commissioner you trust. Brett Yormark has earned the respect which earned him trust, and he is executed.
Y'all feel me?
And I think that's why he's able to operate with autonomy. Whereas we hear every day from sources that tell us George Kliavkoff has to ask permission to be team lean or team squat.
They texted.
Okay, I'll stop. But you get my point.
Yeah.
He does not have full autonomy with his membership. If he did, I'm certain he would go to buckedup.com and use the promo code Monty to get 20% off of his purchase at buckedup.com.
Facts.
I'm telling you, this is the single greatest shaker you will ever have. You can get it right now at buckedup.com. Click the link in the description below. You get 3 free samples and a Bucked Up shaker. Super easy, awesome stuff. All you have to do is click the link for the free samples below. Now, that's good online only, as is the Monty promo code to get you 20% off at buckedup.com. But the free samples are right there. You click the link, you pick your samples, and then you pick the color of the shaker cup that you want. And I brought this shaker cup in today. You guys are going to think I'm crazy for doing this. I'm undoing my shaker cup,
Okay, it's time for science class.
Let's
Damn.
try not to drip everywhere. Look at that. You guys, this is what I want to show you.
Yeah.
Is that this top is what I always talk about. Like, do you see how those blender balls are attached to this post?
Yes.
It's revolutionary. It's technology in science, in
I'm for real.
fabrication.
I'm for real.
You know what I love about this? I love that this one blender mechanism, because you can't call it a blender ball, this one mechanism doesn't fall off and go down my garbage disposal. It doesn't wind up in the bottom of my dishwasher. It's easy to use. And by the way, it mixes the heck out of your drink, which I love.
Yes.
I love the Peach Ring BCAs that I drink from Bucked Up. They're awesome. Get this. Don't take my word for it. Go and get it for free. The Bucked Up Shaker. 3 Bucked Up samples free in the link below.
How about that?
I would get the pre-workout. If you're a workout guy, I love how smooth their pre-workout is.
What do you bench?
I'm a huge fan. Probably 225 right now. Try not to lift heavy.
Do
but the
you
point
even
is,
lift?
use it. It's super easy. Buckedup.com. Use the promo code Monty to get 20% off your purchase, or click the link for the free samples below. Always trying to hook you guys up. You know that the Big 5-0 birthday bash with Brant Keithy and Max Tooley this weekend is presented by Bucked Up. And as always, presented by our good friends at Papa Murphy's Pizza.